r/Askreddit. Elevator maintenance folks, what is the weirdest thing you have found at the bottom of the elevator chamber? My dad has a great story about this. He supervised the mechanics, and one of them called him from a mental hospital and said, "You've got to see this." The maintenance guy was called because the elevator wasn't quite sitting level on the ground floor. It was about half an inch too high and both patients and staff had been tripping on it. But all other floors were no problem. My dad arrived to find the maintenance guy cackling, looking into the bottom of the shaft. There were probably tens of thousands of magazines down there. They had to get a bunch of shovels, a small crew, and a rolling dumpster to clear it out. When it was all done, my dad decided to stay behind and pretend to read a newspaper while he sat in the lobby. After about half an hour, he sees an elderly patient holding a magazine, shuffling slowly toward the elevator. He stops in front of the doors, glances left, glances right, and quickly stoops down, slides the magazine into the gap, and shuffles away as fast as he can with a huge grin on his face. My dad could not help but laugh hysterically. This guy had probably been sliding magazines in there multiple times per day, every day, for decades. I should ask him whether he reported it, or let the guy have his fun. Wouldn't surprise me if my dad went with the latter. One time, we were doing a rip out at an old factory. They were gutting them and turning them into luxury apartments. The elevator we were taking out was a shitty old freight that hadn't run in years. When we finally ran it up, we went down to inspect the pit. It smelled like a dead body had chilled there for half a century. The bottom floor wasn't lit, so I shined my flashlight under the elevator and the whole floor started moving. Roaches. Nasty. Haven't really found anything fun though. I've cleaned out more pits than I could count to. I gave my mom a cheap ring I found. Found a pair of underwear at a hotel. Found a full packet at a courthouse of some lady's case transcribed. Oh, I was on a mod once, and one of the hoistway doors had an advertisement sticker for a tennis restringing service. Which was weird, because it was somewhere only an elevator guy should be able to reach. I called the number, but it was out of service. I found some cool graffiti from the 40s. That's about it. I worked on escalators for a year and a half. There was a lot more in those pits. I was taking home bent up quarters every day. There was lots of shoe bits, and I was always nervous of coming across used needles in certain units. TLDR. Turds. Obligatory wasn't an elevator tech but hotel maintenance. Guest reports waterfall sounds in elevator shaft en route to the lobby. Investigation ensues. Some pump at bottom of shaft is running constantly. Water is still coming out of the drain it's connected to after I unplug it. Find out from notes of third shift maintenance that multiple first floor rooms had repeated clogged toilets all night long. Plumber called 6-inch sewer drain for the entire building is clogged. Worst clog I've seen in 15 years. Washcloths and TP. Over 7 inches of clog in the pipe. Apparently it was clogged so bad that it was backing up into the laundry room, the drain for the elevator shaft and the rooms closest to the main pipe out of the building. First floor suites. Solid turds were left at the bottom of that shaft. I quit about a week later for unrelated circumstances. I used to work at an old 22-story building that had the first automated elevator system in our state. The idea was, in order to control the flow of people in the lobby, you'd push the button for your floor and the elevator would tell you which one to get on. The elevators would make sure the crowd spread out over the big lobby. Anyway, it was the first time I'd ever seen the auto open eyes used too. I worked on the executive floor, where long-winded executives would often stop me as I was leaving. I got used to passing my hand through the doors to break the eye and hold the doors open. You guessed it, my left hand didn't trip the eye. The doors closed on my hand, which was prevented from closing completely because of my heavy engagement and wedding rings. Crushed the whole mess and lost a 2-carat diamond 22 stories below. My hand was only bruised, thank goodness for a safety shutoff. I like to think that someday someone will find a tiny treasure. Not in elevator repair. A few months ago we had a floridly psychotic patient. Think staring into space, can't form a coherent sentence, etc. Brought into hospital. There was a fire alarm at an apartment building, and when fire went in, they somehow found this guy living in an elevator shaft. He had evidently been there for some period of time. Most of his delusions that he was talking about for me that I could understand were about time travel and Jesus, so we were joking a bit that he wasn't actually psychotic and was just time traveling Jesus. Here's an obligatory not one of the elevator maintenance folk story. My dad had a Razor phone back when they were still cool. Just to annoy him, my mom changed the ringtone to the sound of a meowing cat. My dad absolutely hated it, but didn't change it. Anyway, one day at work, he's getting out of the elevator and accidentally drops his phone into the crack between the elevator car and the doors. He calls maintenance and asks them if they can get his phone back, but they say sorry, we can't do that. So he's standing outside the elevator thinking of what to do, and he gets an idea. Running into a nearby office, he asks a coworker if he can use their desk phone for a second and proceeds to call his own phone. He does this a few times. A couple minutes later, someone else hysterically phones security saying that there's a cat stuck in the elevator shaft. A few other people in the elevator at the time corroborate the story, so the elevator maintenance folk run the elevator up the shaft and shine some light down there. Meanwhile, my dad and some other people are standing by the open doors to the shaft, looking downwards. My dad says, "Hey, I don't see any cat, but I think I see my phone down there. Can you guys grab it for me?" And they do. I'm not an elevator maintenance person, but I have been in dozens of elevator shafts for work. I'm a bomb tech, and when I was in the army I did a lot of POTUS or VIP missions in conjunction with the Secret Service. They don't have a bomb squad, so they steal us. It's a great gig. You get to travel all over and stay in some insanely nice hotels. Anyway, the elevator shafts must be cleared to ensure that there aren't any explosive devices. Basically, any place that POTUS or the VIP will go needs to be checked out. I've done a fair amount of elevator surfing, which is riding on top of the car. The weirdest and funniest thing I've seen was a 12-inch, around that height, Superman figurine that had its feet glued to the top of the elevator. The head was slightly tilted back, and the arms were pointed upwards, so it appeared like Superman was flying up, and away whenever the elevator was in use. I have a picture of it saved on an external hard drive somewhere. That shit was hilarious. In a twist, I appear to be the first non-elevator worker. I have lost 2 pair of glasses down the elevator shaft, 2 different elevators across the country. The first time it was like slow motion. They fell. I accidentally kicked them while trying to pick them up, and as they skittered away from me, the elevator door opened and they slipped down the crack between the doors. Everyone in the elevator froze while it happened, and we were all shocked at the perfect timing. The second time was less dramatic, but similarly unlucky timing as I blurrily watched another pair slip down between the doors. Fortunately, I always have backup glasses, so it wasn't a huge loss. So I'm a fire alarm technician, and in buildings with a fire system, we have to test the detectors in the elevator shaft on an annual basis. The elevator tech gets called in, and while he does his inspection, we get access to the detectors. The weirdest thing we've ever found? One time we went into an elevator pit and there were hundreds of little balled up pieces of tin foil all over the floor of the pit. We unrolled one and inside was a roach. Not the bug, the discarded stub of a joint. Apparently some kid in the building would walk down the stairwell, go into the back alley and smoke a J, then ball up the roach in a piece of tin foil, and since there was no place to dispose of it, and probably didn't want to get caught throwing it away in his apartment, he just chucked them down the elevator shaft as he went back up. Concierge knew which kid it was because he saw him on the security cameras, so he just told the kid, "Hey, we don't want you throwing the tinfoil balls down the elevator shaft, so if you have anything to throw away, you can use the bin behind my desk and I won't say a word." My uncle worked for a hotel in Boston. He was sent to do maintenance and cleaning before the associate from Otis came for inspections and repairs circa 1983. He opened the hatch to access the elevator and was told that he should clear out everything he can junk-wise. He found keys, reading glasses, broken glass, clothes, old food, rats, spider webs and a piano. Now the piano was completely smashed and in chunks on the floor. The elevator also did not continue down to this level and stopped at the level above. He got all the pieces out and informed management as he spent 6 hours cleaning or breaking it up. to put through a small hatch. No one knows how it got there, how long it was there. It had to have been dropped down the shaft at some point. He called it his white whale and came up with several theories based on news or events of how it all went down. We have always referred to it as the Boston Mike mystery.